Well, hello everyone. This is your faithful friend Sandra Graves, and welcome to The Code. Don't forget that we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, interviewing different coaches and speakers and experts in different areas. So if you're an expert in a particular area, please get in touch with us at info@envivoassociates.com. And we also have a group of coaches. This show is sponsored by different coaches and experts. So if you want to be part of that, please visit us at envivoassociate.com. I meant to say please visit us at envivoassociate.com. And today we are talking about kids, parents, sex. Wow, what a conversation. I know many parents are very uncomfortable with this topic, but if you bring them to this world, you should not be uncomfortable to talk about that. At least I am not. So that's the reason why I am bringing you today Anya Manes, and she's going to be talking to us about kids, sex, parents, you, and why you have so much difficulty talking to your kids about sex. Okay? So anyway, Anya, thank you for being with us today. Can you tell us more about you before we get into the sex kids topic?
Well, of course. Let's see, I started in a family that didn't talk about sex at all. And so I totally understand all the parents out there who are like, I just don't have a blueprint from which to work from. That's how many of us are feeling, that we just don't know how to do this because it wasn't done for us, right? We can't just copy what our parents did. And so my parents were very much that way as well. And it wasn't a problem until it was uncovered that there actually was sexual abuse happening in my family. And my parents really disagreed about how to handle it. And my mom felt like everybody should be in therapy forever. And my dad felt like it was sort of no big deal. Kids would be kids were just playing. And so that was a big difference, right? And it actually led to their divorce by the time I was 10. So home was really rocky, and I thrived at school. I did really well at school, and I, continued on and eventually went to Columbia University and majored in biology and decided that I wanted to be a school teacher too. And so I was teaching high school science, and in biology class we'd get to talking about sex, of course, right? And the kids always have so many questions about the human reproductive system. So I got lots of practice with telling them all about it and with not being shameful about how I was speaking about it and being really mindful of what words I was using and what I was talking about. And I also got walked in on by administrators quite a bit. I had the Dominican sister in full habit walk in on my biology class while I was explaining which is better, anal sex or vaginal sex. Because that's the question that the child asked me.
What did she do? What did she do? She does all ahead. Oh my God.
She didn't react. To her credit, she didn't react, and she complimented me later.
Oh, that's
But,
good.
so I've been in all those situations already. And when I decided to start my own family, I left teaching, and I was looking around for what I wanted to do, and it was clear to me that this was the thing that I wanted to work on, because my students had so many questions. And even though I was spending time in biology class going over their questions with them, once they left my class, they weren't then coming back to me with their questions, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have the seniors coming back, and yet I still had some senior girls dropping out pregnant. And I'm like, I know I tested you on contraception. I know you knew the biology. I mean, why is it that you're dropping out pregnant?
That's true.
And I had kids who were in unhealthy relationships. The last year I taught, there was a girl in my homeroom who had attempted suicide because she was that straight A perfectionistic type, and she'd been raped but wasn't able to talk about it.
Wow.
So it was still clear to me that it's such a big problem. And if you look at the research really shows that it's parents that can make the difference, right? We can do tons of sex ed, and we can do everything that we do in schools. I was trying to do more. The middle schools had done stuff. The health teacher had done stuff. And yet the kids with the best outcomes are the kids who are having ongoing conversations with their parents. And so that's when I started doing this work, trying to figure out how to keep it top of mind, how to assist parents so that they really felt like they could show up.
with just your intro, you made it just so interesting already. I mean, I am just ready to grab your brain and pull it out and just learn
Yeah.
everything that you have to show us because just that intro was very, very interesting. Because I remember when my son was younger, he was maybe like 4 years old, and he asked me about, how babies come to the world and all that. He had a question, and I answered his question. And on top of that, I went to the library to explain to him and show him the biology book about men and women and pregnancy and all that. He went to the school, and then they called me at the school because they wanted to take him out of the kindergarten. And I'm like, why? And then he says, because he told the kids the truth. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, he said that my mommy and my daddy, they kissed and they had me. Oh, that is nasty. And that's why he got in trouble. So I had to stand up at that moment. And I noticed that a lot of parents, they are very uncomfortable with that. And I am not. So when you were talking to that kid, at the beginning, was it uncomfortable for you? Was it something that you just thought, this, they need to know this? What was your reaction?
Well, I think because there was the sexual abuse in my family, I have been thinking about this, like I had to figure out how to defend my boundaries with that family member all through my adolescence.
Yeah.
Because he's a family member and I would see him every Christmas. And so my peers were easy to deal with, but family is different. I couldn't just say I'm never going to talk to you again, bye-bye,
Yes.
right? And so this was something that I was sort of struggling with and trying to figure out in my youth. And then of course, as a teacher, here I am explaining the biology. Of course I can say penis and vagina and anus and all of those words because they're biology words, right? And I can talk about conception. And so, okay, I get really good at that. And I think that for a lot of people, they just haven't practiced it. It's just not something that they feel comfortable talking about with kids.
Wow. You just said those, and I can actually see you people listening right now, just like, oh my God, she said penis, vagina.
I totally did.
And that is okay.
Totally just did.
That is okay. I mean, it is all in your brain of the way you are presenting it. And when you are presenting the information as educational versus as something dirty, then it makes a big difference.
Right. It makes a huge difference. And so if you can kind of get underneath your own feelings there and acknowledge your own feelings and say, hey, that served a purpose, right? Those feelings kept me safe or helped me behave the way I was supposed to in my parents' home, right? They served a purpose. But now they need to serve a different purpose, right? Now I'm trying to educate my child and keep them safe when they can access pornography and when they might go on to Netflix and watch 13 Reasons Why, right? When they can be exposed to so many things, when there are other kids on the playground who are going to tell them the truth that they haven't heard from their parents yet, right? So I need to get over my own crap. And I need to have these conversations with my kids to teach them that sex is a positive thing, to not pass on that generational shame, and to show them how to talk to their kids about sex, right? Because the reason we don't know is that our parents didn't do it for us, but you can be the change.
That's exactly right.
That makes this an easy thing to do for your kids and your grandkids and on down the line.
So there's like, when you're talking to the parents, you recommend like a particular age group? What is the right age or what is the wrong age? Is there such thing as a good age or bad age?
Well, it kind of depends what we're talking about. If we're just talking about explaining where babies come from, then the right age may be when your child asks. But if your child hasn't asked you about it and they're already 8 years old, chances are all the other kids on the playground know where babies come from. They know about conception. They know about penises and vaginas and sex.
Yes.
So it never feels good to be the last one to know.
Okay, let's pause on that
And
one. Hold
you'll
on.
always...
Let's pause on that one. Okay, repeat that
Yes,
again.
I'm sorry. There's a truck going by.
No, that's okay. Say hi for me. So
And so
repeat
you'll
repeat
always
that
be
part again.
wondering...
Go ahead, repeat that part again because we didn't.
Oh, repeat that part. So most kids on the playground know by the time they're 8 years old. And your child is going to wonder why they're the last to know. and why you as the adult didn't actually tell them this information, right? A lot of
Yes.
times they don't know because the adults have avoided telling them,
That's
right? Maybe they've asked and the adults have just not picked up on those cues or told them something, the stork or whatever silliness.
right.
But
Lies.
they will wonder why it is that you're not telling them this information and think that maybe you don't know or maybe you're not a good source. And that's just not where we want to start from. So if your child is already 8 years old, it's time to go get that great book from the library and teach them about sex and conception.
Okay, so what about teenagers? How do you have a conversation? Because you mentioned that in your biology class, then you have girls that end up pregnant or something like that. How is it that you have a conversation with a teenager for them to understand how that works?
I think that what was going on with the girls in my school, I worked at an all girls Catholic school. I think what was going on with them was not so much that they didn't understand how babies were made or how contraception works. I think it had a lot more to do with them being able to say no.
Okay.
Or with them being able to say, not unless we're using protection, right? I think it had a lot more to do with boundaries and how we communicate our boundaries. And that is not something that I really had time to teach in biology class, but it's something I've thought about a lot since. And now with my clients, that is their favorite topic to talk about. How do we teach kids to have really healthy boundaries? Because that is really tricky. We worry about cyberbullying and sexting and, date rape and all of it with the pornography addiction. I mean, it's all ultimately about boundaries and being able to hem yourself in and not give in to peer pressure and have integrity and self-respect and all of those things.
Wow, I am having so much fun speaking to you about this. To be honest with you guys, I didn't think I was gonna have fun talking about this. I thought I was gonna just be like, okay, just go ahead and talk. But actually, she's putting like a big smile on my face because I'm remembering my past, my present, and everything that I'm gonna be sharing in the future. So anyway, what we're gonna do is that we are going to get back to you very soon. We're gonna take a commercial break because this show is only 30 minutes and we already went over 13 minutes. So we are going to be right back. Gente, aquí Sandra Graves y oye, quería decirte que te conectes con En Vivo Live todos los martes aquí en YouTube. We are going to be here every Thursday at 7 p.m. with different guests bringing you different information. Con invitados especiales con tu anfitriona, yo, Sandra Graves. No te olvides, subscribe. Suscriba y comenta. The code is presented by En Vivo Associates, our affiliates, our sponsors, and of course, our guests. Our guests who present you with the tools that you need to identify the success you desire. If you would like to be a guest in this show, or if you have any comments or questions or any show idea for us, please send us an email to info@envivoassociates.com. Thank you for tuning in to The Code. Welcome back to The Code with your host Sandra Graves, and today we are talking about parents, kids, and sex. Something that maybe you don't like to talk about, but it's necessary, mostly if you have children. You do have to talk about that. And the fact is that I am actually having fun talking to Anya about this. Her name is Anya Manes, and the topic today is kids and 13 reasons why. And you can actually visit her website. If you look at the bottom of the screen right here, it is talkingaboutsex.com. And at the end, I'm going to have her just share with you if there is any other social media that she want to share with you. You can visit her there. But remember that this show is live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and in English and in Spanish at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we are always having coaches and speakers and different experts here. So if you are one, please visit us at www.envivoassociate.com or send us an email to info at envivoassociate.com. Oh, that was a mouthful. That was a lot of things to say. I just want to get back to the topic about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Okay, let's go back. Go ahead, Anya. It's all yours.
Well, when I received the email, it was about a newsletter that I had just written. And I wrote this newsletter because one of my clients came to me saying, my son has watched 13 Reasons Why. And I had heard about it, but I hadn't seen it yet. And I thought, okay, I should probably go watch it. And so then she went and she watched this Netflix series. She watched all the episodes, and then she was horrified because she realized that there was so much in this series. I mean, there's bullying and there's rape and, you know, everything that you would want to talk to your kids about is in this series. And, you know, non-consensual taking of photos, you know, it's everything. So then she was like, all right, I know he's watched it and now I've watched it and there's a lot of conversations we need to have. And I don't know how to even start talking about this stuff with him. And so that's the work she and I have started to do together to open up the communication and make it possible to talk about these things. So I think that the thing that I would really want parents to discuss with their kids. So I want to share some of the pointers I'm thinking of sharing with her as we move through this work. First of all, we were talking a little bit about boundaries. And there's a big misconception out there that your boundary line is when you can't take something anymore. And I want to say that those are different. And so your boundary is when you become uncomfortable. And when you can't take something anymore, that's like when you're close to panic, right? And there should be space between those two. A lot of people confuse them and think they're the same thing. And if you're living your life that way, you don't have any space in between. As soon as you notice that something's wrong, you're in a panic, right? And that happens to many of the teens in the series. But if there's space in between, when you notice you're uncomfortable and before you lose control of yourself and you're freaking out, then that is all your time to actually do something and take action to make things better for yourself. And I think that's a big theme that shows up over and over and over again through the series is how people are confusing their boundary lines and their panic lines. And then the girls especially, they crumple, right? So one of the girls, she's actually shown fighting back, right? She's freaking out. And another girl is shown just going into freeze. Right? And these are the things that we naturally do. Our bodies go into fight, flight, or freeze when we're panicking. And if a girl goes into freeze, that doesn't mean she's consenting to sex. That's one of the big misconceptions that's shown in the series, where the rapist is like, yeah, this is how guys get sex. You kind of overwhelm the girl, she stops fighting, and then she wants it, right? She was only being hard to get. And I think that boys need to understand that there is this freeze thing, that when a girl gets overwhelmed, or a boy, right, anybody, when anybody gets overwhelmed, they may go into freeze and not necessarily fight you off, right? And so we just need to understand that about each other and actually be able to talk about that and forgive ourselves for it. Because, of course, the main character in the series, she can't forgive herself for going into freeze. You know, she's like, why did I let this happen to me? She didn't. She got overwhelmed. Right, so there's big things to be talking about with 13 Reasons Why, and it's a deep, deep conversation to be having with your teens.
And where do they find these 13 Reasons Why?
Oh, it's a Netflix TV series. So if you have a Netflix account, you can go ahead and click on it, and I think we have the link in the program notes. It was a popular teen novel, and so maybe your kid has read the book. But the book has been out for long enough and was popular enough that it got turned into a TV series that's shown through Netflix only. And many, many of our kids have watched it without us.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That is something to watch. And I recommend you watch it because she only gave us a little glimpse of what it's supposed to be. And I'm interested already. I got to watch it because you actually touched some point in me. I mean, I come from sexual abuse as a child from my, you know, my dad's best friend. Usually, is the closest people in your family, and that was very hard for me to work on. It took some time, and that's the reason why I am very comfortable with my sexuality and with who I am because in the past I wasn't. I couldn't even have somebody touch me because immediately I just thought there was something wrong with you. You know, so you know, you parents, you must have experienced things like that as well, like we have. And if you don't work on that, it's going to be hard for you to even talk to your kids about sex or even bring up the conversation. So it have to start with you.
Yes, absolutely. But sometimes we're a little lost as to how to do that. And I guess that's where I'm really helping my clients find their voice, right? Because sometimes they haven't even thought through what they want to say or really what their attitudes are. And then you get caught off guard when your child asks you a question about, like, what's a dildo? Or, something else comes up. Why are there pictures of naked people on the internet? And the parents that I've worked with, some of them are like, I just freeze. I just choke up. I have no idea what to say. And so that's what the work that we're doing, coming up with a really smooth way that always works for answering kids' questions or other topics that you can dive into, like how can we talk about boundaries, right? And is that the same as this panic thing? Heck no, those are different, right? How do I start to build skills around that? Another thing is exit strategies, right? Sometimes we notice that we're in an uncomfortable situation, and how do you get out of it? Well, if you've never thought about it before and you're 13, you're probably not going to get out of it, right? And that's something we see in this TV series over and over again, is the kids get stuck. And they know they're not in a good situation, but they don't know what to do about it either. And so planning forward, what are the exit strategies? If you're at a party and you don't want to be there anymore, how are you going to get home, right? Or if you find yourself alone in the hot tub, right? That's a scene at the end of the series. Check it out. Then are you actually feeling safe, right? Or is it true that anybody could then come be in that hot tub with you, and now you have to figure out how to leave, right? And whatever else can happen in that hot tub. So, kids need our help planning ahead what they're going to do to get out of an uncomfortable situation. We do a lot of don't do this and don't do that, right? And so they understand what situations they shouldn't be in, and then they feel guilty for having gotten into that situation, and they don't know what to do about it. And instead, they need our instruction and our help planning how to get out of that uncomfortable situation. Well, what can they say to their friend when their friend tries to show them porn? What can they do when they find themselves alone with somebody that they don't want to be alone with? What can they do when they're at a party and they're drunk and now they can't drive home, right? What's the exit strategy? We all need to think ahead so that we're prepared for those situations.
Wow, you just exposed all these points that is just going in my brain. Oh my God, I'm almost finished with my kids, but you know what? Where were you when I needed you? I needed
I'm
all of this
here.
stuff before, but you know what? If you need this stuff, it's available to you. You can go right at the bottom of this screen, go to her page and connect with her, because really, if you are as excited like I am about what she is saying, you will actually visit her. You will actually visit her website. I did visit it, and there's lots of information there, and you can get connected with her. And this is how easy it is to talk with this woman. She coaches parents. So if you're a parent, don't be shy. And if you are, believe me, she is going to help you with that too. Because look at this woman, you know? And I actually told her that she doesn't look like the picture. She actually looks better in person than the actual picture. So, whatever.
Thanks.
So tell us, just to, what else can parents do? What other points do you want to share with us before we end the show?
Well, I think that a lot of people are really concerned about consent, right? That's a buzzword these days. How do we teach kids consent? And of course, that's another theme in the series. And I think that you can do a lot of modeling it for your kids right away from the beginning. And one of the simplest things that I think we're overrunning kids and forgetting to do consent all the time is just with taking photos and videos. Like, we take photos and videos and then we post them to social media, and we don't ask our kids if that's okay with them, if they like that picture, right? And one of the habits we could get into is taking a whole bunch of pictures, and then before we do anything with them, handing over that camera and letting our kids flip through and getting to delete any that they don't like, right? I mean, isn't that the considerate thing to do? Don't you kind of own a picture of your own face or your own body? So if somebody takes a picture of your butt and you don't like it, don't you get to ask to have that deleted, right? And so this is actually one of the first places things fall down in the series, is that there isn't this habit of just handing over the phone or handing over the camera and saying, do you want me to delete any of these photos? Because if that happened, then the embarrassing photos would be gone, right? And our main character wouldn't be struggling with her reputation based on photos that got shared around that she totally wasn't comfortable with having posted to her school community. And so if we get into this habit of doing it with our kids, hey, are you okay with this video? Are you okay with these photos? Are there any you want me to delete? Which of these can I post to my Facebook page, right? You know, throw out to the cyberspace universe. If we're actually asking those questions, they're learning from us that that's what you do, and that's considerate behavior, and that's asking for consent. And then we could realistically expect them to be doing it with their friends or their partners or their significant others. But if we can't even do it with our kids, how can we possibly expect them to do it with their peers, right? They're going to behave just the way we do. We take the photo, we upload it without a second thought, right? That's how they're going to behave, and we can't get angry with them for that.
Wow. I, I am speechless. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, it makes sense, but it's not something that just go through parents' head and saying, "Oh, am I gonna ask them?" No, I'm the parents. I'm gonna just do it. And I like that because I've been trying to find ways to teach my daughter. She's 17, and she is very confident. But not only about confidence, because some people are confident, but some people can be aggressive and rude and all that. But it's really to be teaching them how to be assertive, and this is a perfect way to teach your kids how to be assertive. I know my daughter have just what you mentioned. She have been able to tell people, "You better don't post that picture of me." But I like that you presented it of teaching them. Because I have seen parents, and I'm like thinking, "No, you're not gonna post that picture of their kid like that." But they didn't ask; they just posted, and everybody's like, "Oh, it was so cute. The baby was naked," or things like that. And that is a great point that you made. Great point.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about the baby pictures, right? Because
Oh
nobody
no,
really
no,
feels
no!
that embarrassed about their
This was
baby
not.
pictures.
This was
But
not baby picture. This was a
right,
full picture that the parents loaded. That was at the pool, and the the bathing suit was overdone, but the
yeah,
person
yeah.
was with their family, and they did not want it to be posted on Facebook. It's only for the family, not for Facebook. So they felt like, "I'm naked. Don't put my picture there." And the parents is like, "Everybody's here. You wear it here, or you can put it on Facebook."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that that's, right there, that was a boundary conversation. I was comfortable with that level of covering of my body with my close family, and I'm not comfortable with that level of nudity with the entire world.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's actually a boundaries conversation that is a really interesting one to have. But if you're not even asking, "Can I post this photo?" you're not even going to find out that
Right.
difference in your attitudes between you and your child. And so having these conversations actually helps you grow closer. You're like, "Wow, I had no idea that was so important to you," or that that's the way you think about things. So you can have really cool, deep conversations about power dynamics, about what's important to you, about what actually makes someone attractive or what actually leads to happiness, and if we avoid the conversation, then we're not getting any of that juicy goodness.
Wow. This was so educational, informational, and so sexual. Like sex, sex, sex. You know what? What was amazing about this is that as a parent, I'm sure that you learned a lot because I already did. I mean, I have a 24-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I still learn a lot from what Anya had to share today. So if you want to learn more about this topic or find out more, other than watching the Netflix video or show or series, connect with her, ask questions, connect. I'm sure you do this in group as well, right?
Well, I have private clients. I have a group that I run that's really for getting all the foundational skills in place. And then there's also just informal things, right? We have a Facebook group where we offer advice and support to parents for whatever is coming up in the moment. You can sign up for my newsletter, and when you opt in, you get the top 10 conversations to have with your kids about sex, so you can kind of see if you're on track. And also, then you get a little bit of information from me each week so that this all stays top of mind and you can figure out how to work this into your conversations with your kids. So,
Okay.
yeah, come visit the website and let me know what's pressing for you. What issues are you facing so that I know what to write about and how to help.
Okay. Well, she invited you. You have no excuse. You can be better and better every day. You just have to be willing to learn. Thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting us. Thank you, Anya. And
You are so welcome.
I send you many, many blessings and thank you for teaching me this today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.